In the heart of the bustling city, a royal guard, known for his unwavering dedication to duty, found himself at the mercy of a wealthy aristocrat's mockery. The rich young man's taunts echoed through the crowded square, causing bystanders to exchange puzzled glances. The young man mocking the royal guard was Lyle Schutz, a rich kid who had been trying to make a name for himself online by any means possible. He did not care who he hurt in the process. He clearly felt like he was untouchable because of his daddy's fortune. He was clearly used to getting what he wanted when he wanted it. Because Lyle was starting to get really frustrated that he could not get this royal guard to react to him. He wanted the stoic man to become mad or even furious at him, as he figured that that could become a great viral video. He was making jokes about the man, insulting his family, throwing food at him, and even spitting at him. But he still got no reaction. He had one last thing he wanted to try, and Lyle was ready to snatch the black hat of the royal guard. But before he got the chance to, other security guards approached the ground and demanded that they leave at once. These guards were supposed to stand out here day and night. He wanted to return with 2 of his friends and a camera around 2 or 3 at night to make sure he could continue to try and get a reaction out of the guard without anybody interfering. When he and 2 of his friends arrived at the center square, it was looking even more perfect than he could have imagined. The place was well lit, making it easy to get good footage of him and the guard, and there was not a single tourist. Just 3 guards each stationed in front of one of the buildings. He could pick and choose his next victim. It did not take long before the guard started to ask Lyle to stop bothering him. He was even begging him at some point. The man had trouble even keeping his posture. Lyle had this man right where he wanted. He knew that it was only a matter of time before this weak soul would break to his torment. But Lyle would end up not even getting that chance. He was about to give the guard a push when he was suddenly interrupted by the sound of searching tires. He turned around and saw a black van cross on the square at high speeds. The doors swung open and 5 men jumped out of it. They were dressed in all black and protecting their faces with masks. Without a second of hesitation, they grabbed Lyle and his 2 cameramen. They were swiftly thrown into the back of the van, and all Lyle could scream before the doors closed was, "Do you know who I am?" as the man clearly did not care, and the royal guard did not move a muscle in this whole ordeal. He tried yelling again, but the gag muffled his words. His friend's panicked breathing was audible. Desperation filled him as he recognized the gravity of his decisions that led to this very moment. The vehicle finally halted. Even through the blindfold, he could tell they were inside a large space. Echoes of their footsteps and the distant murmuring of voices created an eerie ambiance. Lyle's heart raced as he heard the muffled voices of his friends. They were calling out to each other, trying to establish contact through the heavy barriers of their blindfolds and gags. Once Lyle's friends' voices disappeared entirely, a deafening silence surrounded him. Alone in his uncertainty, Lyle's mind ran rampant with worst-case scenarios. The footsteps came to a halt right in front of Lyle. A chilling voice whispered, "Let's talk." "You believe the world revolves around you, don't you, Lyle?" The figure began, his tone dripping with disapproval. Swallowing hard, Lyle mustered the courage to respond. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" The figure remained unmoved, responding with cryptic statements. "You'll understand in time," he replied enigmatically. Lyle pushed further. "What's going to happen to me? To my friends?" "Actions have consequences, Lyle. Some visible, some less so." Though the threat was subtle, its menace was palpable. In the oppressive darkness, Lyle's thoughts churned relentlessly. With each passing moment, the gravity of his past behavior became more evident. His chest tightened as the weight of guilt settled in. Memories of laughter and jeers, which once felt triumphant, now felt like shackles. The realization that he had hurt others, not just in jest but deeply and personally, began to consume him. The jovial crowd and the social media applause all seemed so hollow now. As dawn approached, a flicker of hope began to ignite within Lyle. If he could somehow turn this ordeal into a turning point, perhaps he could find redemption. "Lyle," the voice boomed. You've lived off the pain of others for too long. Now, it's time to pay. Apologize on video for the world to see, or face consequences you cannot even fathom. The weight of the demand sunk in, and Lyle felt the enormity of the situation press down upon him. Suddenly, muffled cries echoed through the walls. It was unmistakable. The voices of his friends, their tones filled with anguish and fear. "Lyle, do it! Please!" one voice screamed. Their desperation, the sheer raw emotion in their pleas, added another layer of pressure. Now, perhaps humility and genuine remorse could be his salvation. It wasn't just about escaping this situation. It was about mending the wounds he had caused and finding a path to redemption. Swallowing his pride, Lyle nodded slowly. "I'll do it," he murmured, voice trembling. The screen flickered again, showing a camera setup. Lyle hesitated for a moment, swallowed hard, and began to speak. I'm not proud of who I've been. I've laughed at others' pain, took joy in their discomfort. The hurt he'd caused, which he'd once found amusing, now became a raw, open wound in his heart. "I'm so sorry," he whispered, choking back tears. "I was wrong. So very wrong." He paused, struggling to find the right words. "I hope, with time, I can show you that I've changed, that I'm better, that I'm truly remorseful." Still feeling the weight of the video's emotional toll, Lyle was startled when the door swung open. Bright sunlight streamed in, temporarily blinding him. Adjusting his eyes, he found himself and his friends being herded out into a vast, unfamiliar wilderness. No buildings, no roads. Lyle realized they were miles away from civilization, with only the wilderness as their guide. Days into their journey, the trio found each other after being separated briefly while seeking food and water. They sat around a makeshift campfire, reflecting on their experiences. They vowed to not only right their past wrongs, but to also be ambassadors of change, advocating for empathy, kindness, and understanding. Within hours of Lyle's release, his apology video surfaced on major platforms. It spread like wildfire. Media outlets, influencers, and ordinary users shared and reshared the emotional confession. Determined to turn his words into action, Lyle initiated a campaign against online bullying and harassment. He collaborated with victims, educators, and experts to create resources and tools. His story, once a tale of a notorious prankster, began evolving into a narrative of change, growth, and advocacy. It was just the beginning, but Lyle was committed to making a genuine difference.